African city is a complex and vibrant place, where possibilities are endless and opportunity can be found around every corner. Young aspiring people flock to African cities at a rate that has never been seen before. Mulana has its aim set on Africa, transforming the conventional methods of product and service delivery within the African urban landscape.
7 out of 10 of the fastest growing economies are in Africa. 90% of the world's growth in the next 30 years in urban markets are going to be in emerging markets. And we're in an emerging market. 71% of all of South Africa is in the emerging market. 250 million Africans will have disposable income for the first time in this decade, the decade which we're in right now. We've been placed there as business leaders to take advantage or take the opportunity that this marketplace holds.
Melana is a multidisciplinary team with an in-depth understanding of the emerging African market. Sunforest Systems, led by Keith Brown and Empiric, took hands in 2010 to establish Melana. In its core, Melana is a social impact-driven company that connects investors to profit with a purpose projects.
It is our vision to utilize this tremendous growth as an opportunity to work towards creating truly sustainable African communities. At Mulana, we believe that retail is key for the retention and the creation of value within African urban growth nodes, and that it has the potential to transform the way we think about social development while creating a healthy investor return.
Now, 250 million Africans are going to have disposable income for the first time ever this decade because of this emerging market and because of all of the growth that's going to take place in these emerging markets. But think about the disposable income that they could have if 50% of what they made every day was done away with by the fact that they're not traveling. Now, I'll take you through the experience of somebody that's going to work. They leave their home, they walk to where the taxi is. The taxi takes them to the bus. The bus takes them to Pretoria to another taxi from that bus to where they work, and then they reverse that all the way back home. The worst of it is not only did they spend 4 hours, but they spent 50% of all the money that they made that day traveling. If we can work, live, and play in the same place, if we can go to school right where we live, then they're not traveling 4 hours a day. They're not spending half the money that they made that day just getting where they need to go. For the same reason that they never stay in the community for their job, the money doesn't stay in their community either. And if the money doesn't stay in the community, then it's not going to be a healthy community. If we can get jobs there locally, those jobs are going to create actual wealth in the community that those that live in the community are going to spend it back into that community. The way this project got started for me was Beth and Ed Reddick asked me to go over and build a school they called Makanya Christian Academy. But I soon realized that the momentum that we had in the beginning, the momentum that created this school, could only be maintained if this became a self-sustained school. It needed to be done from within South Africa. It needed to be done by the people that actually were having those kids in their school, and it needed to be their school. How do we do that? And we thought, well, what if we created business? What if we created multiple businesses around the school? Could that do it? And the people that are actually part of this school could even run those businesses.
The first big component of Mulana is property development. We literally develop retail centers within these communities.
So for our first center in Kwaffeltein, 16,000 people will walk to our center every day. Can you imagine 16,000 people? Now this is an area where there's over 100,000 people that could walk to the center within a distance of 20 minutes or less, maybe 30 minutes or less, and they'll walk there rather than take a taxi.
The second component is the franchises. So Mulana focuses on creating franchises within these developments. These franchises has a strong local ownership component as part of Mulana's shared value program. So Mulana's franchise partner is OBC Chicken and Meat. They're basically a grocery store with a strong butchery component.
Now, one OBC will create 20 jobs. But there's something happening much better and much greater than that. For every dollar that the investor makes in that OBC, a dollar will go back into the community. Think about it. For every dollar made, a dollar goes back into the community. Now, what will we do with those dollars? We'll take a portion of those dollars, and of those people that are learning how to run that OBC, within that OBC, we'll pick the best of the best, and they'll go out and build their own OBC with dollars that are supplied from that original OBC. They then, in turn, will do the same. Half of the profits from that OBC will go back into the community and to build the next. They will be doing things like building schools, like building new businesses, like building clinics, etc. Whatever that community needs, they're going to get an opportunity to do that themselves.
Melana has created an economic engine for perpetual change with a combination of property development, revenue-generating drivers, entrepreneurship, education, and small business assistance. This sets the stage for the reversal of engraved insufficiencies that have caused poverty on a large scale. Melana enables South African communities to eradicate poverty through their own profits.
That's the challenge that South Africa is having, the high rate of unemployment. Specifically in the Kwamhlanga community, there's a big rate for unemployment. So entrepreneurship, it comes as a solution. People, they are able now to employ other people.
Through Melana's Shared Value program, Melana uses profits coming off of the franchises to support locally driven initiatives, including schools, entrepreneurial centers, such as EDA, Enterprise Development Africa.
EDA gets support from Melana through their shared value system, whereby they give more support directly to the local entrepreneurs. They've got many ways of supporting local entrepreneurs through the division of franchising, whereby entrepreneurs are prepared to get into the franchise businesses through the support of Melana. And they are also trained on how to set up their market in their retail shops.
This shared value proposition can go back into the community in the form of entrepreneurial training centers. K through 12 is the beginning, but vocational training, adult training of all types, entrepreneurial training, they're all entrepreneurs there. They're out on the street selling corn or whatever you think you might need, it's there on the corner. There is something going on here. They all want to be there. They all have the ability to sell. But for a year, we train them on how to run a well-run business, how to build a business plan, how to get a board, how to get advisors, how to get actually systems in place, how to get process of supply chain in place, how to do inventory, etc., etc.
I first went to South Africa in January of 2014 to see the school that we've been talking about for years at Makanyo. Our kids had been part of a fundraising effort, and we wanted to go to the school where this fundraising effort had raised resources to provide the schools. While we were there, and in talking with Keith Brown, it became clear that one of the most difficult parts of doing this kind of work overseas is sustaining the work. It's difficult to keep a school going, it's difficult to keep any kind of endeavor going overseas if all you're doing is taking money from one country, in this case the United States, and investing it in another country, in this case South Africa. Over the years, that's hard to sustain. So there's a chance to invest in an amazing and viable business opportunities that serve communities in South Africa that are just not served well. I can remember when we were over there pulling up onto a hillside overlooking a recently built suburban development that had over 8,000 homes that had just been built outside of Johannesburg. And it was amazing to me to think about that in those 8,000, possibly growing to 10,000 homes, there were very little by way of services that would provide for this emerging middle-class neighborhood. And so with the retail developments that Melana is involved in, it's been exciting to see what the potential is to serve those communities and to serve that emerging middle class. The business opportunity, it's very real. It's an emerging market, and it's very clear business opportunities. At the same time, I think there's a real opportunity to serve these densely populated townships with these retail centers, and in this case, franchise opportunity of OBC. I'm sure there'll be others, other franchise opportunities that will come up not only selling chicken and meat, but other basic goods and services that are needed in the country. So it's a privilege to be part of this. It's a privilege to invest in this and to begin to see the work that will take place and the transformation in the community that will take place because of it.
You know, this is an historic opportunity that we as Christian business leaders can bring business as missions into the African continent and beyond. We cannot raise that kind of money. We'll never raise that kind of money. And if we did raise that kind of money and gave it to them, we would create more problems than we would solve. We would hurt more than we would help. If it's them actually building their own businesses, building their own schools, taking care of themselves, they're going to be a proud people that look at the next person and do the same thing for them. They're going to actually be the next teachers. They're going to be the next business leaders. Their kids are going to be the next people that then create business after business after business. The cycle of poverty is going to be eradicated along with them bringing their own profits.
Imagine being part of a thriving African continent where people work, live and play in a sustainable community mindset. This is the opportunity of the future, and we can utilize this growth to create community, healthy investor returns and improve people's lives. Together, we can be the engine for perpetual change. Together, we can transform communities through profits. Melana, an engine for perpetual change.